Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy History Channel. Tonight, we're stepping into the long and layered story of London, a city that has risen, fallen, burned, and rebuilt itself more times than almost any place on Earth. Beneath its streets lie the remains of empires, revolutions, disasters, and dreams. Above them, the modern city moves, often unaware of the past still resting below. This is a place where Roman soldiers once marched beside the Thames, where kings ruled and rebels rose, where fire reshaped the skyline and war tested the spirit of millions. Every corner holds a memory. Every street has been walked by countless lives before your own. As we move through this story, you may find yourself drifting between centuries, from ancient walls to crowded markets, from royal halls to hidden alleys. Some moments may feel familiar, while others may open doors you never knew were there. If you enjoy these gentle journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, all you need to do is relax. Let your body soften. Let your eyes grow heavy. And allow your mind to wander through the long and remarkable story of London. Let's begin. London began as a Roman trading town beside a tidal river. Before it became a capital of palaces, parliaments, museums, and millions of voices, London began as a practical Roman settlement on the edge of the Thames. The river mattered more than anything. It carried goods inland from the sea, gave merchants a route into Britain's interior, and offered the Romans a place to build a bridge where roads could meet. Around that crossing, Londinium grew with astonishing speed. Warehouses, workshops, homes, shrines, and markets gathered beside the water. Ships unloaded pottery, wine, oil, metalwork, and food from across the empire. People arrived from distant provinces, bringing languages and customs that made the city international from its earliest days. Even then, London was not just a place on a map. It was a point of connection where river, road, empire, and ambition met. The Great Fire destroyed medieval London, but spared the Tower of London. In September of 1666, a small bakery fire on Pudding Lane became one of the most famous disasters in English history. The flames spread through narrow streets packed with timber houses, overhanging upper floors, straw, and crowded shops. For days, the city burned with such force that molten lead ran from church roofs, and people fled with whatever they could carry. By the end, most of the old city inside the walls had been devastated. Thousands of homes were gone, along with dozens of parish churches and the old St. Paul's Cathedral. Yet the Tower of London survived. Its stone walls stood apart from much of the wooden city, a symbol of older power watching the destruction around it. The disaster cleared away a medieval world and opened the way for a new London of brick, stone, wider streets, and grander ambition. The Thames was once so polluted that Parliament nearly fled. In the summer of 1858, London's river became impossible to ignore. For generations, waste from homes, workshops, slaughterhouses, and streets had flowed into the Thames. The same river that carried boats through the city had also become an open sewer. Hot weather made the smell unbearable. Curtains in the Houses of Parliament were soaked in chemicals to mask the stench. But even that was not enough. Politicians discussed leaving Westminster because the air around the river had become so foul. This crisis, remembered as the Great Stink, helped force action on a scale London had never attempted before. Engineer Joseph Bazalgette designed a vast sewer network that intercepted waste before it reached the central Thames. His system transformed public health and changed the city beneath the surface. London's modern life still depends on that hidden Victorian achievement. The Blitz turned London's nights into fire, fear, and defiance. During the Second World War, London endured months of aerial bombing that changed the city's memory forever. Night after night, sirens warned civilians to seek shelter as enemy aircraft crossed the darkened sky. Bombs struck docks, homes, churches, factories, railway lines, and crowded neighborhoods. Families slept in underground stations. Firefighters worked through smoke and falling masonry. Searchlights crossed the clouds while anti-aircraft guns shook the ground below. The damage was immense, and the fear was real. Yet the city did not simply collapse under the assault. People queued for food, went to work, cleared rubble, rescued neighbors, and returned to damaged streets with remarkable resolve. St. Paul's Cathedral, seen standing amid smoke and flames, became one of the enduring images of survival. The Blitz did not make London invincible, but it revealed how stubbornly a city could endure. The Tower of London held queens, rebels, princes, and ravens. Few buildings in London carry as many stories as the fortress beside the Thames. Built after the Norman conquest, it was designed to project power over a city that William the Conqueror needed to control. Over time, it became much more than a castle. It housed royal apartments, armories, records, prisoners, treasure, and the crown jewels. Some entered through ceremony. Others arrived under guard. Anne Boleyn spent her final days within its walls. Elizabeth, before she became queen, was held there in uncertainty. The young princes associated with one of England's most enduring mysteries vanished from its story. Even the ravens became part of its identity, surrounded by legend and careful tradition. The tower is fascinating because it is never only one thing. It is palace, prison, symbol, museum, and warning, all folded into the same ancient stone. London Bridge once carried houses, shops, gates, and severed heads. For centuries, crossing the Thames at London Bridge was not just a journey over water. It was like entering a narrow street suspended above the river. The medieval stone bridge was lined with buildings so tightly packed that many travelers barely saw the Thames below. Shops traded from its sides. Homes rose above the roadway. Chapels and gates marked its length. The bridge was crowded, noisy, dangerous, and alive with business. At its southern end, the heads of executed traitors were displayed as a warning to all who entered the city. Beneath the arches, the tidal river rushed through with such force that boatmen treated the passage with real caution. This was not the open bridge Londoners know today. It was a strange urban world in itself, part marketplace, part fortress, part theatre of power, stretched across one of England's most important rivers. The Underground became the world's first railway beneath a city. When London opened its first underground railway in 1863, it solved a problem that had been growing for decades. The city's streets were overwhelmed by carts, horses, omnibuses, pedestrians, and smoke. Moving through London could be slow, crowded, and exhausting. The radical answer was to send trains below the surface. The earliest line ran between Paddington and Farringdon, using steam locomotives in tunnels cut through the ground and roofed over again. The journey was smoky and strange, but people came in enormous numbers. For the first time, a city had built a railway beneath itself for everyday travel. The idea spread across the world, but London did it first. The Underground changed where people could live, how they worked, and how the city expanded. It turned distance into something negotiable and made modern urban life possible in a new way. Westminster Abbey has crowned English monarchs for nearly 1,000 years. Few places in Britain carry ceremony as heavily as Westminster Abbey. Since the coronation of William the Conqueror in 1066, it has been the sacred setting where monarchs are transformed from heirs into rulers. The ritual is not simply decoration. It links kings and queens to religion, law, history, and national memory. Generations have processed beneath its vaulted roof, surrounded by music, ancient objects, oaths, and expectation. The coronation chair has held monarch after monarch, while the abbey itself has gathered tombs, memorials, poets, scientists, warriors, and statesmen around the same holy space. It is both a church and a kind of stone archive. To walk inside is to enter a building where power has repeatedly paused, dressed itself in symbolism, and declared continuity. London's political story may unfold at Westminster nearby, but the Abbey gives that story its deepest ritual roots. London's history is really the history of many cities joined together. Modern London can seem like one enormous place, but its past is more like a gathering of separate worlds. The old city of London grew from Roman and medieval roots around trade, law, guilds, and finance. Westminster developed as a centre of monarchy, religion, and government. Southwark formed its own lively identity across the river, with theatres, inns, markets, and entertainments outside stricter city control. Later, villages and towns such as Chelsea, Islington, Hampstead, Greenwich, Hackney, and Brixton were drawn into the expanding metropolis. Each kept traces of its own character. This is why London often feels like a collection of atmospheres rather than a single planned capital. A short journey can carry you between royal ceremony, dockland industry, legal tradition, immigrant neighbourhoods, ancient churches, and modern glass towers. The city's magic comes from these layers meeting without fully blending. London once became the largest city the world had ever seen. By the 19th century, London had grown into a human phenomenon on a scale the world had never known. It was no longer only a royal capital or a busy port. It had become a vast urban machine, drawing in workers, merchants, servants, inventors, refugees, and fortune seekers from Britain and far beyond. Railways poured people into huge stations. Ships filled the docks with goods from across the globe. New suburbs stretched outward through fields that had once seemed safely distant. The city contained glittering wealth and shocking poverty almost side by side. It had theatres, factories, slums, clubs, warehouses, palaces, prisons, and markets, all moving at once. To stand in Victorian London was to feel the force of industrial civilization in motion. It was crowded, dirty, brilliant, unequal, and astonishing. A city so large that even Londoners struggled to comprehend it. Roman Londinium grew around a bridge across the Thames. That crossing was the city's first great piece of infrastructure. It joined roads from the south, with roads leading north and west, making the settlement a natural stopping point for soldiers, traders, officials, and travelers. The bridge turned the Thames from a barrier into an opportunity. On one side, ships could unload imported goods from the wider Roman world. On the other, carts could carry supplies inland across Britain. Around this meeting place, warehouses and workshops gathered with remarkable speed. Merchants sold pottery, glass, wine, olive oil, and metal goods. Officials collected taxes. Craftsmen served the needs of a growing population. The bridge did more than connect two riverbanks. It created the conditions for a city to form, because movement, trade, and authority all converged there. Boudicca's rebellion burned Roman London almost to the ground. In the 1st century, the Iceni queen Boudicca led a ferocious uprising against Roman rule. London was still young, but it was already valuable enough to become a target. The Roman governor, Suetonius Paulinus, decided he could not defend it, so he abandoned the settlement and left its people exposed. When Boudicca's forces arrived, the destruction was devastating. Archaeologists have found a distinct red layer beneath the city, made from burned clay, ash, and debris. It is a physical scar from that violent moment. The attack reminds us that early London was not born peacefully into greatness. It existed on a frontier of empire, where resentment, conquest, commerce, and survival collided. Out of that destruction, the Romans rebuilt, and the city returned stronger than before. London's Roman wall shaped the city for many centuries. The wall was more than a military defense. It became a boundary that shaped how London understood itself. Built from stone and tile, it enclosed the Roman city with gates controlling movement in and out. Long after Roman authority faded, the line of the wall continued to matter. Medieval London grew within and around it, using its ancient strength as protection and identity. Streets bent to meet its gates. Neighborhoods formed near its openings. Even names such as Bishopsgate, Aldgate, and Ludgate preserve echoes of that enclosed world. Parts of the wall still survive between modern buildings, often looking strangely out of place among offices and roads. Yet those fragments are reminders that London's shape was not invented all at once. It was guided by stone laid down when emperors still ruled from Rome. Archaeologists still find Roman streets beneath modern office blocks. London's past is not only kept in museums. Much of it lies under foundations, basements, roads, and construction sites. When developers dig, archaeologists often step in before the new city rises. Beneath steel and concrete, they have uncovered wooden writing tablets, shoes, coins, drains, mosaics, tools, and the lines of old roads. These discoveries can be astonishingly intimate. A preserved tablet might show a business note. A child's shoe might reveal a life otherwise completely lost to history. The damp London soil has protected materials that usually decay, especially near the old riverfront. This means the Roman city is still being rediscovered piece by piece. Every major excavation can become a conversation between two Londons, one reaching upward in glass, the other waiting patiently in mud. The Temple of Mithras revealed a hidden Roman religion underground. In the 1950s, post-war rebuilding uncovered one of London's most extraordinary ancient sites. Workers found the remains of a temple dedicated to Mithras, a mysterious god worshipped by some people across the Roman Empire. His cult was especially popular among soldiers and officials, but much about its rituals remains uncertain. The temple had been buried for centuries near the Walbrook, one of London's lost waterways. Inside and around it, archaeologists found sculptures, altars, and objects connected with devotion. The discovery caused public excitement because it opened a doorway into a more secretive side of Roman life. This was not the official face of empire, with governors and roads and taxes. It was a world of initiation, symbolism, loyalty, and belief. Under the modern city, London had kept a sanctuary of hidden faith. Roman London had bathhouses, basilicas, markets, and busy river wharves. At its height, the city was not a rough outpost. It had the features of an organized Roman urban center. Bathhouses offered warmth, washing, exercise, and social life. The basilica and forum formed a public heart where business, law, and administration could unfold. Markets supplied food and goods to residents who came from many backgrounds. Along the river, wharves handled cargo arriving by ship, linking the city to Gaul, the Mediterranean, and beyond. The streets would have been full of smells and sounds, from animals and cooking fires to traders bargaining and carts grinding over road surfaces. This was a city plugged into a vast imperial system. It looked toward the Thames, but its connections stretched across seas. Even in its earliest centuries, London already had a taste for the world. After Rome withdrew, London shrank into a quieter settlement. The end of Roman rule did not create one dramatic disappearance. Instead, the city changed slowly and unevenly. Imperial administration faded. Long-distance trade weakened. Stone buildings decayed or were reused. Some areas inside the old walls became sparsely occupied, and daily life moved on a smaller scale. The grand public structures that once expressed Roman order no longer served the same purpose. People still lived in and around the area, but London's role had altered. It was no longer a polished urban machine of empire. It became a place of fragments, memory, adaptation, and survival. This quieter period is fascinating because it shows that cities are not guaranteed to keep growing. They can retreat, soften, and change function. London's later greatness makes this pause feel almost impossible, yet it was part of the city's long rhythm. Anglo-Saxon London moved west before returning to the old walls. After the Roman period, settlement shifted away from the old walled city toward the area around what is now the Strand and Covent Garden. This Anglo-Saxon trading settlement is often called Londonwick. It was closer to river activity and better suited to the commerce of its time. Instead of occupying the Roman city exactly as it had been, people made a new center nearby. Later, during the Viking Age, the old Roman walls became useful again. Defended space mattered, so London moved back into the ancient enclosure. This movement west, then east again, reveals a city adapting to changing dangers and opportunities. London was not fixed in place by destiny. It was repeatedly chosen, abandoned, reworked, and defended by people responding to the pressures of their world. Alfred the Great refortified London against Viking attack. In the late 9th century, Alfred understood that London's position made it too important to leave vulnerable. The Thames offered access, trade, and danger. Viking forces could use rivers as highways, striking deep into territories that seemed secure. Alfred's response was strategic. He restored London as a defended place, bringing it back within the old Roman walls and tying it into a wider system of fortified settlements. This was not only about stone and timber. It was about royal authority, survival, and control of movement. By strengthening London, Alfred helped secure a crucial point in southern England. The city became part of the struggle that shaped early English identity. Its later power owes something to this moment, when defense, kingship, and geography came together in a city still finding its future. Viking armies repeatedly threatened London's wealth and river access. For raiders and armies from the north, London was an obvious prize. It stood beside a navigable river, gathered trade, and represented political influence. Control of the city could mean access to money, supplies, and prestige. The threat was not a single episode, but a recurring pressure across generations. Londoners had to think constantly about defense, walls, gates, ships, and alliances. The Thames could bring prosperity, but it could also deliver danger directly to the city's edge. This tension shaped London's development. A settlement built for exchange also had to become a stronghold. Viking pressure helped make the city more militarized and more politically significant. London's story during this period is not just one of attack. It is a story of resilience under repeated testing, where survival depended on both wealth and preparedness. London paid Danegeld to keep Viking raiders away. Sometimes defense was not enough, and negotiation became the price of survival. Danegeld was a payment made to Viking forces, often in silver, to prevent attack or encourage withdrawal. To modern ears, it may sound like surrender, but the reality was more complicated. Paying could buy time, protect lives, and preserve property when military victory was uncertain. For a wealthy city, money itself became part of its defense. Yet these payments also revealed London's attraction as a target. Raiders knew where riches could be found, and the city's prosperity made it vulnerable. Danegeld shows a world where power was measured not only in armies, but in treasure, fear, calculation, and reputation. London's survival often required hard choices, made under pressure, with the river always carrying both opportunity and threat. Edward the Confessor built Westminster into a royal and sacred centre. Before Westminster became inseparable from British government, it was shaped by royal devotion. Edward the Confessor rebuilt the abbey on a grand scale in the 11th century, choosing the area beside the Thames as a place of spiritual and royal importance. This decision helped pull power westward from the old commercial city. Westminster became associated with kingship, worship, burial, and ceremony. Edward himself was buried there, and his shrine later drew pilgrims. The abbey's presence encouraged the growth of royal buildings nearby, setting the foundations for a district that would become central to English political life. This is one of London's great historical splits. The city looked toward trade and money. Westminster looked toward crown, church, and state. Together, they formed two powerful neighbours whose influence still defines London. The Norman conquest transformed London with castles and stone power. After 1066, London had to be controlled as well as governed. The Normans brought a new language of authority, and much of that language was built in stone. Castles rose around the city to secure obedience and protect the conquerors from rebellion. These were not decorative buildings. They were statements of force, designed to be seen, feared, and remembered. Norman rule changed landholding, law, aristocratic culture, and the relationship between city and crown. London remained wealthy and important, but it now existed under a new ruling elite with continental connections. The conquest did not erase the city's past. It layered a new power structure on top of it. From this point onward, London became a place where English, Norman, royal, civic, and ecclesiastical interests all pressed against one another. William the Conqueror built the White Tower to dominate London. The Great Keep at the Tower of London was designed to impress and intimidate. Its pale stone, much of it brought from Keene in Normandy, made it stand out against the city around it. This was architecture as a warning. William needed London's cooperation, but he also wanted the city to understand the reality of conquest. The fortress guarded the river and watched the eastern edge of the old city. Inside its massive walls were spaces for defense, ceremony, worship, and royal residence. Over time, the complex around it expanded, but the White Tower remained the core symbol. It told London that a new dynasty had arrived, backed by military strength and continental ambition. Few buildings in England have so clearly expressed the moment when power changed hands. The Domesday Book recorded London separately because it was exceptional. The Great Survey ordered by William the Conqueror covered much of England with extraordinary detail. It listed land, resources, tenants, livestock, mills, and taxable value. Yet London did not appear in the same ordinary way as most places. Its complexity, privileges, population, and economic importance made it difficult to capture within the standard structure of the survey. This absence is revealing. London was already different, not simply another town in a kingdom of manors and villages. It had its own customs, institutions, and commercial life. The city's wealth mattered to the crown, but its internal workings were unusually intricate. This special treatment hints at the long bargaining relationship between London and royal power. The city could not be ignored, but it could not be easily reduced to a list either. Medieval London governed itself through powerful guilds and civic privileges. The medieval city was not run only from a royal palace. Much of its life was organized by citizens, merchants, aldermen, and craft associations. London held privileges that allowed it a degree of self-government rare enough to matter deeply. Guilds regulated trades, trained apprentices, supported members, shaped ceremonies, and influenced politics. Civic leaders guarded the city's liberties because those rights protected both honor and profit. This produced a strong urban identity. Londoners were subjects of the king, but they were also citizens of a self-conscious community with its own rules and traditions. The city could welcome monarchs with pageantry, lend them money, resist them when necessary, and negotiate fiercely. Medieval London's power came from more than walls or markets. It came from organized citizens who understood the value of collective authority. The Lord Mayor became one of London's great political figures. This office grew into far more than a ceremonial role. The Lord Mayor represented the city's independence, wealth, and corporate identity. Chosen from within the civic elite, he stood at the meeting point between merchants, guilds, aldermen, and the crown. His authority mattered because London mattered. Kings needed the city's loans, supplies, loyalty, and public support. The Lord Mayor could welcome rulers with magnificent processions, but he also embodied privileges that monarchs had to respect. The annual mayoral show became a display of civic confidence, full of color, costume, music, and symbolism. Behind the spectacle was a serious message. London was not merely governed from above. It had its own leadership and political voice. The Lord Mayor's prominence shows how urban wealth could become public authority in medieval England. Cheapside was once London's glittering heart of trade. The name comes from an old word for market, and for centuries this street was one of the city's busiest commercial spaces. It was lined with shops, stores, and houses belonging to merchants and craftsmen. Goldsmiths, mercers, drapers, and other traders gave the area energy and status. Royal processions passed through it, turning business streets into stages of ceremony. Public conduits brought water. Crowds gathered for news, bargaining, gossip, and spectacle. Cheapside mattered because medieval London lived through exchange. Goods arrived from the countryside, from Europe, and from farther trade networks, then moved through streets alive with voices. This was not a quiet commercial district. It was a dense, competitive, colorful center where wealth could be displayed, reputations made, and the pulse of the city felt most strongly. Medieval streets were named after the trades that filled them. London's map still preserves traces of working lives that once crowded its lanes. Bread Street, Milk Street, Poultry, Ironmonger Lane, and Fish Street Hill all point back to a time when trades clustered together. These names were practical before they became historical. They told people where to find what they needed. A buyer could move through the city almost as though reading its economy from the street signs. The arrangement also reflected regulation, habit, and community. Craftsmen learned from masters, watched rivals, shared suppliers, and guarded standards. The street became both workplace and advertisement. Today, many of the original trades have vanished from those locations, replaced by offices, traffic, and modern shops. Yet the names remain like small fossils of labor, reminding us that the city was once organized by sound, smell, skill, and craft. London's guilds controlled apprenticeships, quality, prices, and social status. In medieval London, a trade was not simply something a person decided to do alone. It was often governed by a guild with rules, expectations, ceremonies, and hierarchies. A young apprentice might spend years living under a master's authority, learning skills and discipline before becoming a journeyman, and perhaps one day a master himself. Guilds protected customers by checking quality, but they also protected members by limiting competition. They could punish bad work, organize charity, fund religious observances, and take part in civic pageantry. Membership brought identity as well as livelihood. To belong to a guild was to have a place in the city's social order. These organizations helped make London prosperous, but they also made it structured, watchful, and deeply conscious of rank. Work, reputation, and citizenship were tied together. The peasants' revolt reached London and shook royal authority. In 1381, anger over taxation, labor laws, and harsh local officials burst into one of the most dramatic uprisings in English history. Rebels from Kent and Essex marched toward the capital because London was where power, money, law, and royal government gathered. Once inside, they attacked symbols of authority with astonishing boldness. Prisons were opened. Legal records were destroyed. Important officials were hunted down. The young Richard II suddenly faced a crisis that could not be dismissed as distant countryside unrest. The city became the stage on which ordinary people challenged the machinery of government itself. For a moment, the usual order seemed frighteningly fragile. The revolt was eventually crushed, but it left behind a powerful memory. London had shown that when crowds entered the heart of power, even kings had to listen. Wat Tyler was killed during a dramatic meeting at Smithfield. The confrontation at Smithfield brought the peasants' revolt to its most dangerous and theatrical moment. Wat Tyler, one of the rebel leaders, met the young king in an open space already associated with markets and public gatherings. The exact details remain contested, but the meeting turned suddenly violent. Tyler was struck down by the Lord Mayor of London, William Walworth, and royal forces moved quickly to control the crisis. What makes the moment so gripping is the age of Richard II. He was still a teenager, yet he faced a crowd whose anger could have overturned his rule. After Tyler fell, the king rode toward the rebels and persuaded them to follow him. It was a remarkable act of political nerve. Smithfield became the place where rebellion, fear, performance, and royal survival met in a single tense scene. Smithfield hosted livestock markets, tournaments, executions, and public spectacle. For centuries, this open ground just outside the old city walls was one of London's most versatile spaces. Cattle, sheep, and horses were driven there for sale, filling the area with noise, smell, mud, and bargaining. Yet it was never only a market. Knights competed there in tournaments before watching crowds. Public punishments took place there too, turning justice into a visible lesson. Religious dissenters were burned at Smithfield during periods of persecution, and political prisoners sometimes met their deaths in front of assembled spectators. The same space could be commercial in the morning, festive on one occasion, and terrifying on another. That mixture reveals something important about old London. Public life was crowded, physical, and often theatrical. Smithfield was not hidden from the city's story. It was one of the places where London watched itself. The Black Death may have killed half of London's people. When plague reached London in the 14th century, the city was packed with the exact conditions disease could exploit. People lived close together. Waste was difficult to manage. Trade and travel brought constant movement through gates, streets, wharves, and markets. The mortality was so severe that normal life was overwhelmed. Priests, laborers, merchants, servants, children, and officials all vanished into the same catastrophe. Whole households could be emptied. Burial grounds filled quickly. Wages, property, religion, and social relations were all shaken by the loss. The horror was not only the number of deaths. It was the speed with which familiar life could collapse. London survived, but it was changed by absence. After the plague, workers had new bargaining power, landlords faced disruption, and people were forced to confront how fragile even a great city could be. plague pits still lie beneath parts of the modern city. Under today's roads, stations, gardens, and buildings, London still holds burial places created in moments of emergency. During major outbreaks, ordinary churchyards could not always cope with the dead. Large pits were dug to receive bodies quickly, sometimes in areas that later became absorbed into the growing city. Archaeologists have uncovered mass burials linked to outbreaks, intruding sites that reveal care as well as crisis. Bodies were often laid in rows rather than simply thrown aside, which suggests an effort to preserve dignity under desperate pressure. These discoveries make the past feel startlingly close. Beneath the daily movement of commuters and traffic are reminders of fear, grief, and endurance. London's ground is not empty space. It is a record of lives interrupted, communities tested, and a city repeatedly forced to rebuild after loss. London's medieval hospitals cared for travelers, the poor, and the sick. A hospital in medieval London was not quite the same as a modern medical institution. It was often a religious foundation, shaped by ideas of charity, hospitality, prayer, and care for the vulnerable. Travelers might find lodging. The poor might receive food. The sick might be tended with the knowledge available at the time. Some hospitals served particular groups, such as lepers, pilgrims, or elderly residents without support. The work was spiritual as well as practical, because helping the needy was seen as a Christian duty. These places remind us that medieval London was not only a city of trade and punishment. It was also a city of refuge, however limited and imperfect that refuge could be. In their halls, care was offered at the edge of suffering, where faith, medicine, poverty, and community met. St. Bartholomew's Hospital has survived since the 12th century. Founded in 1123 by Rahor, a courtier who became a monk, this institution is one of London's most remarkable continuities. It began beside Smithfield as part of a religious foundation, serving the sick and poor in a world where medicine, prayer, and charity were closely linked. Over the centuries, it endured plague, fire, political upheaval, reform, and the transformation of medicine from medieval practice to modern science. Generations of Londoners passed through its wards. Physicians, surgeons, nurses, patients, students, and benefactors all added to its long life. The hospital's survival is astonishing because so much around it changed. Dynasties ended, streets shifted, and the city expanded beyond recognition. Yet the institution remained rooted in care. It is a rare thread running from medieval devotion to contemporary healthcare, still tied to the same part of London. Westminster Hall has witnessed trials, banquets, speeches, and royalling in state. Built at the end of the 11th century, this enormous hall is one of the oldest surviving parts of the Palace of Westminster. Its scale was designed to impress, and it still does. Beneath its magnificent timber roof, English history has repeatedly gathered in public form. Coronation banquets filled the space with ceremony and feasting. Great state trials brought famous figures before authority, including Thomas More, Guy Fawkes, and Charles I. Later, the hall became a place where monarchs and national leaders lay in state before burial, allowing the public to file past in solemn procession. Few rooms have held so many different kinds of power. Celebration, accusation, grief, and memory have all passed through it. Westminster Hall feels less like a building than a stage on which the nation has watched itself change. London's first stone bridge lasted for more than 6 centuries. Completed in the early 13th century, the medieval crossing over the Thames was an extraordinary feat of engineering and endurance. Its stone arches had to survive tides, river traffic, floods, ice, repairs, and the constant pressure of people moving between the city and Southwark. The bridge became so familiar that generations treated it as a permanent part of London's body. Yet keeping it standing required organization, money, and maintenance across centuries. A special charitable and administrative body, later known as Bridge House Estates, helped support its upkeep. The bridge's long life shaped the city's movement, trade, and imagination. For much of London's history, this was the central crossing, the place where journeys narrowed into one essential passage. Its survival for so long shows how a single structure could guide the habits of an entire metropolis. Old St. Paul's Cathedral had one of Europe's tallest spires. Before the familiar dome of today's cathedral, London had a vast medieval church that dominated the skyline in a completely different way. Old St. Paul's rose above the city with a spire that was among the tallest in Europe. It could be seen from far away, acting as a landmark for travelers approaching by road or river. The building was not only a place of worship. Its nave, known as Paul's Walk, became a famous meeting place where people exchanged news, gossip, business, and political rumor. Booksellers gathered nearby. Sermons attracted crowds. The cathedral stood at the center of spiritual and civic life until fire destroyed it in 1666. Remembering Old St. Paul's helps us imagine a lost London skyline, where a soaring needle of medieval faith once stood before Wren's Great Dome took its place. The River Fleet became a lost river under London's streets. Once, this river flowed openly from the north toward the Thames, passing through valleys, mills, settlements, and eventually the edge of the city. Over time, London's growth changed it completely. The Fleet became polluted by waste from homes, workshops, and markets. Its banks grew crowded. What had once been useful water turned into a foul channel associated with filth, poverty, and nuisance. Gradually, sections were covered over and forced underground. Today, it still runs beneath parts of the city, hidden below roads such as Farringdon Street. Its name survives in places like Fleet Street, but the river itself has vanished from sight. This hidden waterway is one of London's most fascinating disappearances. It reminds us that the city did not simply build upward. It also buried parts of its natural landscape beneath brick, pavement, and memory. The Inns of Court turned London into England's legal heart. Between the Old City and Westminster grew a district devoted to the training and practice of law. The Inns of Court became communities where barristers lived, studied, dined, argued, and formed professional identities. Their location mattered. They stood near the royal courts at Westminster, but also close to the commercial energy of the city. Over time, these institutions developed customs, libraries, halls, gardens, and rituals that made law feel almost like a separate world inside London. Students learned not only from books, but from observation, conversation, and shared discipline. The inns helped shape the English legal profession and gave London a lasting role in the administration of justice. Their courtyards still feel set apart from the surrounding traffic. They preserved the atmosphere of a city within a city, where language, precedent, and argument became instruments of power. Printing transformed London after William Caxton set up his press. When William Caxton brought printing to Westminster in the late 15th century, he helped change how ideas moved through England. Before printing, books were copied by hand, which made them expensive, slow to produce, and limited in circulation. A press could multiply texts with far greater speed. This altered religion, education, politics, commerce, and entertainment. London became the natural center for the new trade because it had readers, money, institutions, and access to national power. Printed books helped standardize English, spread stories, preserve arguments, and widen access to knowledge. They also made controversy harder to contain. A text could travel beyond the control of the person who first released it. Caxton's press was not loud like a battle or visible like a cathedral. but its consequences were immense. It changed the city into a machine for spreading thought. Tudor London exploded with theatres, merchants, spies, and religious danger. The 16th century brought energy and tension in equal measure. London grew rapidly as trade expanded, court life glittered, and ambitious people poured into the capital. The city offered opportunity, but it also lived under intense pressure. Religious change under successive monarchs could make belief dangerous. Words spoken in taverns, pulpits, or private rooms might carry consequences. Foreign ambassadors, government agents, informers, merchants, and writers all moved through the same crowded streets. At the same time, playhouses drew audiences hungry for drama, laughter, history, and danger, safely performed on stage. Tudor London was thrilling because so much was in motion. Faith, money, politics, literature, and surveillance pressed close together. It was a city where a person might seek fortune in the morning, hear treason whispered by afternoon, and watch a masterpiece before nightfall. Henry VIII turned monasteries into palaces, houses, and ruins. The dissolution of the monasteries reshaped London's religious and physical landscape. Monastic houses had once owned land, provided charity, offered worship, educated communities, and cared for the poor. When Henry broke with Rome and seized their wealth, these institutions were closed, stripped, sold, or repurposed. Some properties became grand homes for courtiers and nobles. Others were broken up for building materials. Chapels, cloisters, gardens, and precincts were absorbed into a changing city. The process was not only administrative, it altered daily life for people who had depended on monastic charity and hospitality. It also transferred enormous wealth into new hands, helping create a powerful class tied to the Tudor state. London still carries traces of this upheaval in names and sites where religious foundations once stood. A spiritual map was overwritten by politics, property, and royal will. Hampton Court became a stage for Tudor power and ambition. Though it lies beyond central London, Hampton Court became one of the great palatial expressions of Tudor monarchy. Cardinal Wolsey first developed it on a magnificent scale, but Henry VIII took it for himself after Wolsey's fall. The palace was designed to impress anyone who entered. Great kitchens fed huge households. Courtyards controlled movement. Tapestries, chambers, chapels, and gardens displayed wealth and hierarchy. It was a place where politics happened through proximity. To be near the monarch could mean influence. To be excluded could mean decline. The palace also carried personal drama, including marriages, births, anxieties, and shifting favor. Hampton Court reveals that Tudor power was not only enforced through law, it was performed through space, ceremony, food, clothing, architecture, and access to the royal body itself. Elizabethan London heard Shakespeare's plays before anyone knew his name. Before Shakespeare became a monument of world literature, he was part of a living theatrical marketplace. His plays were written for actors, companies, audiences, and specific stages. Londoners did not attend them as museum pieces. They came for excitement, wit, beauty, violence, ghosts, clowns, kings, lovers, and startling language. The audience could be noisy and mixed, with wealthy spectators seated apart from those standing close to the stage. Plays had to grip people quickly and hold them through weather, distraction, and competition. Shakespeare's genius grew inside this demanding environment. He listened to the city, borrowed from history, absorbed popular taste, and transformed familiar materials into something extraordinary. The first listeners did not know they were hearing lines that would echo for centuries. They simply knew the theatre was alive in front of them. The Globe Theatre stood outside City Control on Bankside. The location was part of its success. Bankside sat across the Thames from the stricter jurisdiction of the city authorities, who often viewed theatres with suspicion. This area already had a reputation for entertainment, risk, and looser regulation. The globe joined a landscape of playhouses, taverns, animal baiting arenas, and crowded river crossings. To reach it, spectators might walk across the bridge or take a boat over the Thames. The building itself was open to the sky, with a thrust stage that brought actors close to the audience. Its position outside the official city helped theatre thrive in a space where rules were different. That distance mattered. Some of England's greatest drama developed not at the centre of civic respectability, but just beyond it, in a lively riverside district where performance could breathe. Southwark became London's unruly playground of theatres, taverns, and bear-baiting. Across the river from the city, Southwark developed a reputation for pleasures that respectable authorities often tried to control. Travellers arrived at inns. Drinkers crowded taverns. Audiences came for plays. Others watched bear-baiting, a brutal entertainment that drew noisy crowds in an age with very different ideas about cruelty and spectacle. The district's position outside the city's direct control made it attractive to activities pushed to the margins. Yet it was not merely lawless. It was commercially sharp, socially varied, and culturally important. Southwark shows how London needed spaces where ordinary rules loosened. Theatres could experiment there. Visitors could spend money there. Stories could gather there. It was a borderland between respectability and release, and that tension helped make it one of the most vivid districts in London's early modern life. The Thames was London's main road before bridges multiplied. For much of the city's history, the river was not scenery. It was a working route, crowded with boats carrying people, food, fuel, building materials, royal processions, foreign goods, and news. Roads could be muddy, slow and congested, while the Thames offered a broad moving highway through the heart of London. Palaces, docks, gardens, stairs, warehouses, and theatres all faced the water because the river connected them. Important journeys often happened by boat. Monarchs travelled along it in ceremony. Workers depended on it for transport and employment. Markets received goods through it. The city's geography made sense from the water in a way modern visitors sometimes miss. Before London was knitted together by many bridges and railways, the Thames was its central artery. To understand Old London, imagine the river not as a boundary, but as the busiest street of all. Watermen carried Londoners across the river for everyday journeys. Before bridges and railways made crossing easy, thousands of Londoners relied on skilled boatmen to move across and along the Thames. These watermen knew the tides, currents, stairs, wharves, and hazards of the river with professional precision. A passenger might call from the bank, step into a small boat, and be carried to Southwark, Westminster, the theatres, the law courts, or a riverside palace. Their work made the river feel less like an obstacle and more like a living street. They carried apprentices, merchants, actors, servants, visitors, and sometimes the powerful. Their voices, fares, rivalries, and complaints were part of London's soundscape. The job could be dangerous, especially in darkness or bad weather, but it was essential. These men formed one of the city's great working communities, guiding daily life across water long before the modern transport map existed. Frost fairs turned the frozen Thames into a temporary carnival. During some of the coldest winters in London's history, the river froze hard enough for people to walk, trade, and celebrate on the ice. These events were not ordinary winter strolls. Printers set up presses. Vendors sold food and drink. Games, booths, music, and crowds transformed the frozen surface into a strange seasonal city. The most famous fairs happened during the Little Ice Age, when colder conditions and the old bridge's narrow arches helped slow the river. For a few days or weeks, Londoners experienced the impossible. Their great river became a marketplace under the open sky, Yet the wonder carried danger. Ice could crack, weather could shift, and the Thames remained powerful beneath the surface. Frost fairs feel magical because they reveal a London briefly turned upside down, where the city walked on the water that usually carried it. London's coffee houses became engines of news, science, and finance. In the 17th and 18th centuries, a cup of coffee could buy entry into a world of conversation. London's coffee houses filled with merchants, writers, politicians, scientists, sailors, insurers, investors, and curious readers. Newspapers and pamphlets circulated from table to table. Rumors traveled quickly. Arguments sharpened. Deals began. Experiments were discussed. Some establishments attracted particular crowds, which meant a person could choose the room that matched their business or interests. This made coffee houses powerful, informal institutions. They helped information move faster through the city, and in a commercial capital, information was money. They were sometimes called penny universities, because talk itself became a kind of education. London's coffee house culture shows how history can turn on small social spaces. A warm drink, a shared bench, and a restless appetite for news helped shape science, politics, trade, and finance. Lloyd's of London began in a coffee house near the docks. Edward Lloyd's coffee house became famous because it attracted people who cared deeply about ships, cargoes, voyages, and risk. Mariners, merchants, and insurers gathered there to exchange news about sailings, storms, captures, wrecks, and arrivals. In a world where fortunes could be made or lost at sea, reliable information was precious. The coffee house developed into a center where marine insurance could be discussed and arranged with increasing sophistication. Over time, this informal network evolved into one of the most famous insurance institutions in the world. Its origins are remarkable because they show how London's global power grew from practical conversations. Ships crossed oceans, but the risks attached to them were measured in a crowded room near the river. Lloyd's began not as a grand corporation, but as a meeting place where coffee, gossip, calculation, and maritime ambition came together. The Royal Society helped make London a centre of science. Founded in the 17th century, the Royal Society gathered people who wanted to investigate nature through observation, experiment, and reasoned debate. Its members explored questions about astronomy, anatomy, physics, chemistry, navigation, instruments, fossils, plants, and weather. London gave them access to printers, patrons, collectors, travelers, merchants, and makers of scientific equipment. Reports from voyages could be discussed beside experiments performed in meeting rooms. The Society's motto, often translated as "take nobody's word for it," captured a new confidence in testing claims rather than simply repeating authority. Its journal helped spread discoveries beyond the room where they were first presented. This mattered because science was becoming a public enterprise, not only a private curiosity. Through the Royal Society, London became a place where the natural world was examined, argued over, demonstrated, and shared with growing intensity. Isaac Newton once worked at the Royal Mint in London. The man famous for gravity and motion also spent decades dealing with coins, counterfeiting, and the machinery of money. In the late 17th century, Newton became warden of the Royal Mint, then master of the Mint. This was not an honorary retreat. England's currency needed reform, and counterfeiters threatened trust in the coinage. Newton investigated fraud with remarkable seriousness. He gathered evidence, questioned witnesses, pursued criminals, and helped oversee the great recoinage. It is fascinating to imagine one of history's greatest scientific minds immersed in the practical problems of metal, weight, law, and deception. At the Mint, mathematics met the marketplace. Accurate coins mattered because trade depended on confidence. Newton's London work reminds us that genius did not live only in abstract thought. It also operated in offices, workshops, courts, and the hard daily business of a growing financial state. The Bank of England began as a wartime financial experiment. In 1694, the government needed money to fight a costly war against France. A group of subscribers lent funds to the state, and in return, the Bank of England was created. What began as a solution to immediate military pressure became one of the most important financial institutions in the world. Its existence changed the relationship between government, credit, public debt, and private investors. The state could borrow more effectively, and London's financial system gained new depth. This was not glamorous history in the usual sense. There were no charging armies in Threadneedle Street, yet the consequences were enormous. War, trust, paperwork, and calculation combined to build something lasting. The bank helped turn London into a centre where money itself could be organised on a national scale, giving the city influence far beyond its streets. The London Stock Exchange grew from crowded coffeehouse trading. Long before screens, tickers, and modern dealing rooms, London's securities market lived through voices, paper, trust, and reputation. Brokers and jobbers gathered in places where they could exchange information and arrange transactions. Jonathan's Coffee House became especially associated with trading in stocks and government securities. Prices were discussed, deals were struck, and fortunes could shift through news of war, shipping, politics, or public credit. Over time, this restless activity required firmer rules and more formal spaces. The exchange emerged from a culture where finance was personal, noisy, and fast-moving for its age. It is extraordinary to think that one of the world's great financial marketplaces grew from crowded rooms where people argued over values and risk. London's rise as a financial capital was not planned in a single moment. It condensed from conversation, speculation, trust, and ambition. Christopher Wren redesigned London after the Great Fire. After the flames of 1666, London faced a rare and astonishing possibility. Much of the old city had been cleared by disaster, and thinkers proposed grand plans with straight avenues, open squares, and classical order. Christopher Wren produced one of the most famous visions for rebuilding, imagining a more spacious and elegant capital. The full plan proved impossible because property rights, urgent rebuilding, old boundaries, and commercial pressure pulled London back toward its familiar street pattern. Yet Wren still shaped the city profoundly. He designed dozens of parish churches and the new St. Paul's Cathedral, giving the rebuilt skyline a rhythm of towers, steeples, and domes. His work did not erase medieval London entirely. Instead, it rose through the ruins, blending ambition with compromise. The rebuilt city became a conversation between what London dreamed and what London could actually do. Wren's St. Paul's rose from ashes as a national symbol. The new cathedral was more than a replacement for a burned medieval church. It was a statement that London had survived catastrophe and could build with confidence again. Christopher Wren's design crowned the city with a dome, unlike anything London had seen before. The structure required engineering skill, artistic judgment, money, patience, and political support across decades. Its interior created a vast ceremonial space, while its exterior gave the skyline a powerful new focus. Over time, St. Paul's became linked with national moments far beyond church worship. Funerals, thanksgivings, royal ceremonies, wartime images, and public memory all gathered around it. The building's meaning deepened because it stood where destruction had been so complete. Its dome seemed to answer the fire itself. From ruin came a landmark that told Londoners their city could rise again with grandeur. Fire insurance marks once decorated London buildings after disaster. After the Great Fire, fear of future destruction became part of daily urban life. Insurance companies began offering policies against fire, and many placed metal plaques on insured buildings. These fire marks showed which company protected the property. In the 18th century, some insurers maintained their own fire brigades, so a mark could identify responsibility during an emergency. The plaques often displayed symbols such as suns, hands, crowns, or mythical creatures, turning financial protection into visible street decoration. They reveal a city learning to manage risk in new ways. Fire was no longer only a sudden act of fate. It became something that could be priced, pooled, and organized against. These marks are small objects, but they point to a major shift in urban thinking. London was becoming a place where disaster produced systems, institutions, and new forms of trust. The monument still measures the memory of London's greatest fire. Standing near the place where the blaze began, the monument is both a column and a measuring device of remembrance. Its height is roughly the distance from its base to the bakery in Pudding Lane where the disaster started. Designed by Christopher Wren and Robert Hooke, it was built not only to commemorate destruction, but also to express learning, resilience, and civic pride. Visitors could climb its long spiral staircase and look out over the rebuilt city. The monument turned trauma into architecture. It made memory vertical, visible, and permanent. Londoners passing by were reminded that the streets around them had once been ash. Yet the column did not simply mourn. It celebrated rebuilding and survival. In stone, flame, inscription, and height, it transformed the city's worst fire into a landmark of endurance. The Great Plague emptied streets before the fire remade them. In 1665, London faced one of its most terrifying outbreaks of disease. Houses were shut up when infection appeared. Watchmen guarded doors. Red crosses marked dwellings under quarantine. Carts carried bodies through streets that had lost their usual noise. Wealthier residents fled when they could, while many poorer Londoners remained trapped by circumstance, work, or lack of means. Trade faltered. Fear spread with every rumor and every bell. The next year brought the Great Fire, and the two disasters became linked in popular memory. Yet the plague was not simply a prelude to burning buildings. It was a human catastrophe of grief, isolation, and uncertainty. It exposed the limits of medicine and government in a crowded city. London survived, but the experience left a deep mark on how people imagined danger, punishment, cleanliness, and urban life. Samuel Pepys recorded London's plague, fire, theatre, and naval life. Few witnesses bring Restoration London closer than Pepys. His diary, written in a private shorthand, captured the city with extraordinary immediacy. He described fear during plague, the advance of fire, the pleasures of theatre, the demands of naval administration, quarrels at home, meals, music, ambition, gossip, and desire. What makes his writing so valuable is its mixture of public history and private feeling. Great events appear beside ordinary errands. A national emergency might share space with a new suit, a performance, or a conversation. Through him, London becomes alive in detail rather than frozen in dates. He shows us a city of smoke, bells, river journeys, offices, taverns, and sudden news. Pepys matters because he did not know he was writing for us. He wrote his own world down, and in doing so, preserved one of London's richest voices. Georgian London spread westward through elegant squares and terraces. As the 18th century unfolded, London expanded with new confidence. Landowners developed planned neighborhoods that offered space, status, and order away from the older commercial core. Squares became fashionable settings where houses faced shared gardens, and terraces created long lines of controlled architectural rhythm. This westward growth changed the geography of wealth. Areas such as Bloomsbury, Marylebone, and Mayfair offered cleaner air, wider streets, and social prestige. The design of these districts shaped how elite Londoners lived, visited, married, entertained, and displayed themselves. Behind the elegant fronts were servants, tradespeople, builders, and complex systems of supply. Georgian expansion was not merely pretty architecture. It was a new social map, written in brick, stucco, railings, and garden squares. London stretched outward, and Cars itself became visible in the arrangement of streets. Mayfair grew from muddy fields into fashionable aristocratic streets. The name remembers an annual fair once held in the area, but the district's later identity became far grander. During the 18th century, aristocratic families and developers turned open land into one of London's most exclusive neighborhoods. Grand houses, private squares, clubs, chapels, shops, and stables formed a landscape of privilege. To live there was not just to have an address. It was to occupy a social position. Proximity to court, parliament, parks, and other elite households made Mayfair ideal for the season, when families came to London for politics, marriage negotiations, entertainment, and display. Its transformation shows how quickly land could change meaning. What had been peripheral and rough became polished and desirable. London's expansion did not simply add streets. It created new theatres of status, where wealth announced itself through doors, windows, facades, and silence. Covent Garden began as London's first planned square. In the 17th century, the Earl of Bedford developed land that had once belonged to Westminster Abbey into a new kind of urban space. Designed with the influence of Inigo Jones, the square brought a sense of continental order to London. It had arcaded buildings, a church, and an open piazza that felt different from the city's older lanes. At first, it attracted fashionable residents. Later, its character shifted as markets, theatres, taverns, and nightlife transformed the area. This change is part of its fascination. Covent Garden began with elite planning, then became one of London's most energetic public districts. Fruit and vegetable traders filled the market. Performers and audiences arrived. Crowds changed the meaning of the space. It shows how London often escapes the intentions of its designers. A planned square became a living stage. Gin-crazed London terrified reformers with addiction, poverty, and disorder. In the early 18th century, cheap gin flooded parts of London, especially poorer districts already under strain. It was strong, widely available, and often easier to obtain than stability, comfort, or clean water. Reformers saw gin as a social disaster linked with neglected children, violence, illness, pawned possessions, and public disorder. The most famous image of the crisis, William Hogarth's Gin Lane, presented a nightmare vision of urban collapse. The reality was complex, but the fear was genuine. Gin became a symbol of what could happen when poverty, profit, and weak regulation met in a growing city. Parliament passed laws to control its sale, though enforcement was difficult. The episode reveals a London where pleasure could turn destructive and where moral panic, public health, crime, and class anxiety all gathered around a single drink. Tyburn became a notorious place of public execution. Near what is now Marble Arch, crowds once assembled to watch condemned prisoners die. The journey from Newgate Prison to Tyburn could become a grim public procession, with spectators lining the route. Some prisoners dressed carefully, spoke to the crowd, prayed, joked, or tried to shape their final reputation. Vendors sold food and drink. Pickpockets worked among the watchers. Execution was punishment, warning, ritual, and entertainment at the same time. To modern ears, this can sound almost unbelievable, but public death was meant to make authority visible. The state used the crowd to witness its power. Tyburn's fame spread through ballads, pamphlets, confessions, and criminal biographies. It became part of London's dark popular culture. The site reminds us that the history of the city includes not only splendor and invention, but also fear staged before thousands. Newgate Prison haunted London's imagination for hundreds of years. This prison stood near one of the old city gates and became a symbol of crime, punishment, misery, and dread. Its cells held debtors, thieves, accused felons, political prisoners, and people awaiting trial or execution. Conditions were often appalling. Disease, overcrowding, bribery, noise, and despair shaped its reputation. Newgate entered ballads, novels, court reports, and popular stories because it seemed to concentrate the darker side of urban life. For many Londoners, it was not an abstract institution. It stood in the city, visible and feared, connected to courts and execution routes. The prison's history reveals how justice could be theatrical, unequal, and brutal. Yet it also helped inspire reformers who argued that punishment should be more orderly and humane. Newgate haunted London because it showed what society did with those it condemned. Bow Street runners became an early force in modern policing. In the 18th century, London's crime problem was handled by a patchwork of watchmen, constables, informers, rewards, and private efforts. Then Henry Fielding, a magistrate and novelist, helped create a more organized group based at Bow Street. These men investigated crimes, pursued suspects, gathered evidence, and developed a reputation for effectiveness. They were not police officers in the modern sense, but they marked an important step toward professional law enforcement. Their work mattered because London was growing too large and complex for older systems to manage. Streets, markets, theatres, coaching inns, and dark lanes created countless opportunities for theft and fraud. The Bow Street officers learned to follow information through the city. They connected victims, witnesses, criminals, and courts in new ways. In doing so, they helped turn policing from a local duty into a skilled urban profession. The Metropolitan Police changed London's streets in the 19th century. In 1829, a new force appeared in London wearing blue uniforms and walking regular beats. Created under Home Secretary Robert Peel, the Metropolitan Police aimed to prevent crime through visible presence rather than simply react after offences occurred. This was a major cultural change. Many Londoners feared that a professional police force might become a tool of government control, especially in a country suspicious of standing armies. To build trust, the new officers were meant to appear disciplined, restrained, and civilian. Their nicknames, Bobbies and Peelers, came from Peel himself. Over time, their steady presence altered how the city felt after dark and during the day. The streets were still crowded and dangerous in places, but policing had become systematic. London helped create a model that influenced cities across the world. Gas lighting transformed London nights before electricity arrived. Before gas lamps spread through the city, London after sunset could feel uncertain and difficult to navigate. Candles, oil lamps, moonlight, and torches offered limited help. Darkness shaped social life, work, crime, travel, and fear. Gas lighting changed that relationship with night. From the early 19th century, lamps began to illuminate streets, bridges, theatres, shops, and public buildings with a steadier glow than many Londoners had known before. The effect was practical and psychological. People could move with more confidence. Businesses could extend activity. Crowds could gather in lit spaces. The city's evening life became brighter, longer, and more theatrical. Of course, gas brought hazards, pollution, and infrastructure challenges. Even so, it marked a profound shift. London was learning to manufacture light on an urban scale, turning darkness itself into something that could be managed. Victorian sewers rescued London from disease and unbearable stench. By the mid-19th century, London's waste problem had become a crisis of smell, health, politics, and engineering. Cesspits overflowed. Drains discharged into the Thames. Crowded housing made contamination harder to escape. The river that ran through the capital carried filth past Parliament itself. The answer required building beneath the city on a scale that seems almost heroic. New intercepting sewers gathered waste before it reached the central river and carried it eastward. Pumping stations lifted sewage through the system with powerful engines housed in magnificent industrial buildings. This hidden network changed London's future. It reduced the conditions that helped disease spread, made urban growth more sustainable, and turned sanitation into a civic achievement. The most important monument of Victorian London is not only above ground. It is also below, moving what the city needed to forget safely away. Joseph Bazalgette built the system that still serves London. The engineer behind London's great sewer network gave the city more than pipes. He gave it time. His designs allowed for future growth, using generous calculations that helped the system remain useful long after his own century. Bazalgette had to think through gradients, tides, pumping power, brickwork, riverside embankments, and the stubborn reality of building under a crowded metropolis. The project also reshaped the surface of London. The Victoria, Albert, and Chelsea embankments helped contain new sewers while creating roads and public spaces along the Thames. This was engineering that altered both the body and face of the city. Bazalgette's achievement is especially fascinating because success made it almost invisible. When infrastructure works, people stop noticing it. Yet every ordinary day in London still depends on his vision, his measurements, and his confidence in brick, gravity, and flow. Cholera helped reveal how contaminated water spread deadly disease. For much of the 19th century, many people believed diseases such as cholera spread through bad air. This theory seemed plausible in a city full of foul smells. Yet cholera's true root was more specific and more frightening. It moved through water contaminated with human waste. London suffered repeated outbreaks that exposed the deadly connection between sanitation, poverty, and urban crowding. The disease could strike with terrifying speed, causing severe dehydration and death in a short time. Because rich and poor shared the same wider environment, contaminated water became a problem the city could not ignore forever. Cholera forced investigators, doctors, reformers, and officials to look more closely at pumps, wells, cesspits, pipes, and rivers. It helped shift public health away from vague fear of smells and toward the practical tracing of invisible contamination. John Snow traced cholera to a Soho water pump. In 1854, a severe outbreak struck the streets around Broad Street in Soho. Physician John Snow studied where victims lived and noticed a pattern. Many had used the same public pump. He argued that the disease was linked to contaminated water from that source, not simply to poisonous air. The handle was removed, and although the outbreak was already declining, the investigation became a landmark in epidemiology. What makes Snow's work so compelling is its method. He read the city like evidence. Addresses, habits, water sources, and deaths became clues. London itself became a map of cause and effect. His conclusions were not instantly accepted by everyone, but they helped change how disease was understood. A single neighborhood pump became famous because it revealed a new way of seeing illness, not as mystery alone, but as a pattern that could be traced. The Great Exhibition made London a showcase of industrial ambition. In 1851, crowds poured into Hyde Park to see a vast celebration of industry, invention, empire, and design. The exhibition gathered machines, textiles, scientific instruments, raw materials, artworks, and manufactured goods from Britain and beyond. Visitors could marvel at the confidence of an age that believed progress could be displayed under one roof. The event was championed by Prince Albert and became a statement about Britain's industrial power. It also revealed London's ability to stage the modern world for itself. People came by train, carriage, and foot to witness objects that seemed to promise a future of speed, production, and technical mastery. The exhibition was not just a fair. It was a theatre of ambition. London presented itself as a capital of invention, where industry could be arranged, admired, and imagined as destiny. Crystal Palace amazed visitors before moving south and burning later. The building created for the Great Exhibition seemed almost impossible to many who saw it. Designed by Joseph Paxton, it used iron and glass on a breathtaking scale, filling Hyde Park with light and space. Trees even stood inside it, as though nature had been enclosed within engineering. After the exhibition, the structure was dismantled and rebuilt in Sydenham, where it became a centre for entertainment, education, concerts, displays, and public leisure. Its new site gave a whole area of South London its name. For decades, it represented Victorian confidence in spectacle and construction. Then, in 1936, fire destroyed it, leaving only memory, terraces, fragments, and photographs. The story of Crystal Palace is powerful because it rose as a symbol of modern brilliance, then vanished in flames, like a dream of glass that could not last forever. Railway terminals redrew London's map with iron and steam. The arrival of major railways changed London more dramatically than almost any earlier transport revolution. Great stations pushed into the city from different directions, each tied to lines reaching out across Britain. Euston, Paddington, King's Cross, St Pancras, Waterloo, Victoria, and Liverpool Street became gateways rather than mere buildings. Around them grew hotels, warehouses, cab ranks, offices, cheap lodging, and new patterns of movement. Railways compressed distance. A person could live farther from work, send goods faster, receive news sooner, and imagine the country as more connected than before. Yet the building of lines also demolished neighbourhoods and displaced poorer communities. Steam brought opportunity and disruption together. London's map became a web of termini, tracks, bridges, cuttings, and timetables. The city was no longer shaped only by river and road. It was reshaped by iron routes and clocks. King's Cross was once shaped by railways, canals, and industry. Today, the area is known for redevelopment, restaurants, offices, and crowds moving through great stations. Its earlier identity was grittier and more industrial. The Regent's Canal brought goods by water. Railways brought passengers, coal, parcels, livestock, and building materials. Gasworks, warehouses, yards, stables, and depots filled the district with labour and smoke. The location mattered because it served as a meeting point of transport systems. Things arrived, were stored, sorted, shifted, and sent onward. This made King's Cross one of the working engines of Victorian and later London. It was not designed for elegance. It was designed for movement and supply. Its transformation over time reveals one of London's recurring patterns. Areas built for hard, practical work can later be reimagined, but the old structures and routes still shape what comes next. The underground opened with steam trains and smoky tunnels. The first passengers who travelled below London in 1863 entered something both practical and extraordinary. The Metropolitan Railway used steam locomotives, which meant the tunnels could become smoky despite ventilation. Stations were lit by gas, and the experience was unlike any previous urban journey. People could move beneath congested streets, avoiding surface traffic that had become almost unbearable. The early line was built by digging trenches, constructing the railway, then covering it again. This caused enormous disruption, but the result changed city travel forever. Londoners quickly embraced the system, even with soot, noise, and strange underground air. It proved that a metropolis could build another transport city beneath itself. Later, electric trains and deep tunnels would transform the network. But the beginning was bold, smoky, and deeply Victorian, a railway under the pavement. Deep-level tube lines later became shelters during wartime bombing. During the Second World War, stations and tunnels beneath London took on a role far beyond transport. As bombing raids threatened the city above, many civilians descended underground for protection. Platforms became sleeping spaces. Families brought blankets, food, flasks, and small comforts. The air could be stale, the crowding intense, and conditions uncomfortable, but the depth offered reassurance. Some stations developed routines, with people returning night after night to the same places. The tube became part of the emotional geography of survival. It carried workers by day and sheltered them by night. This double life gives the Underground a special place in London's wartime memory. It was not only a machine for movement. It became a refuge, a dormitory, a community, and a symbol of ordinary people adapting to extraordinary danger below the streets they called home. Victorian London was both imperial capital and city of poverty. The contrast could be shocking. London displayed the wealth of a global empire through banks, clubs, exhibitions, government buildings, grand shops, and fashionable districts. At the same time, many residents lived in overcrowded rooms, unstable employment, poor sanitation, and hunger. The same city that governed colonies and financed international trade also contained courts, alleys, lodging houses, workhouses, and desperate street economies. This tension fascinated reformers, journalists, novelists, and investigators. They crossed invisible boundaries between comfort and deprivation, often describing poor districts as though they were foreign lands inside the capital. Victorian London forces us to hold two truths together. It was powerful, innovative, and culturally brilliant. It was also unequal, harsh, and exhausting for many who kept it running. Its greatness cannot be separated from the people who paid the hidden cost of that greatness. Charles Dickens turned London's streets into unforgettable social drama. Dickens knew the city through walking, observation, memory, and personal hardship. As a child, he experienced insecurity and work in a blacking factory after his father was sent to debtor's prison. Later, as a writer, he transformed London into one of the great landscapes of literature. His streets are crowded with clerks, lawyers, pickpockets, debtors, children, shopkeepers, fog, courts, prisons, and sudden encounters. He understood how the city could feel comic, cruel, mysterious, and alive all at once. Buildings and neighborhoods in his novels often seemed to possess moods of their own. Dickens did not merely describe London. He made readers feel its pressure. Through him, the city became a stage for injustice, chance, tenderness, ambition, and survival. His London is not a map. It is a living moral drama, filled with unforgettable voices. The East End became a world of migration, labor, and hardship. For generations, the East End absorbed people who arrived with limited money and urgent hopes. Its proximity to docks, workshops, factories, and cheap housing made it a place of work and struggle. Irish migrants, Jewish refugees, sailors, laborers, and later many other communities helped shape its streets. Employment could be irregular and exhausting. Families crowded into small rooms. Markets, chapels, synagogues, pubs, clubs, and street trades created dense local cultures. Outsiders often portrayed the area through fear or pity, but that missed its resilience and variety. The East End was not simply a zone of poverty. It was a place where newcomers built networks, defended identities, learned trades, raised families, and changed London from within. Its history reveals how migration is not a side story of the city. It is one of the forces that made London itself. Jewish refugees reshaped Whitechapel with markets, workshops, and community life. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, many Jewish migrants arrived in London after fleeing persecution and hardship in Eastern Europe. Whitechapel became one of the main centers of settlement. Yiddish could be heard in the streets. Tailoring workshops, bakeries, schools, newspapers, synagogues, friendly societies, and political clubs gave the district a distinctive character. Life was often difficult. Housing was crowded, work could be poorly paid, and prejudice was real. Yet the community built institutions of support, learning, faith, and activism. Whitechapel became a place of intense argument and creativity, where tradition met socialism, religion met modernity, and survival required cooperation. The area's markets and trades reflected both necessity and enterprise. This chapter of London history shows how refugees did not simply enter the city. They remade its sounds, tastes, politics, and neighborhood life. Notting Hill's carnival grew from Caribbean resilience and celebration. After the Second World War, Caribbean migrants helped rebuild Britain while facing racism, housing discrimination, and hostility. Notting Hill became one of the places where these tensions were especially visible. Out of struggle came a cultural response filled with music, movement, color, and pride. The carnival developed from community efforts to celebrate Caribbean identity and resist the isolation imposed by prejudice. Steel bands, sound systems, costumes, dancing, and food turned streets into a living festival. It became one of Europe's largest street celebrations, but its joy carries historical depth. Carnival is not only entertainment. It is memory, defiance, belonging, and creativity in motion. It shows how London's identity has been reshaped by people who arrived from across the world and claimed space through culture. The city's streets became a stage for survival, transformed into celebration. London's docks connected the city to every ocean. For centuries, the port was the reason London could feel like the center of the world. Ships arrived with sugar, tea, tobacco, timber, spices, wine, wool, fruit, and countless other goods. Cargoes came from the Americas, Africa, Asia, Europe, and the wider empire. The docks were places of wealth, risk, bureaucracy, and intense labor. Warehouses rose beside basins, where vessels unloaded the material life of global trade. The port shaped diets, fortunes, industries, and habits far beyond the riverfront. It also tied London to histories of exploitation, including slavery and colonial extraction, which cannot be separated from its commercial rise. The docks made the world tangible. A Londoner could taste empire in tea, see it in warehouses, and smell it in spices and tar. The city's global identity was built plank by plank, crate by crate, along the Thames. Dock workers once powered an empire through exhausting physical labor. Behind the wealth of the port stood men whose bodies carried the burden of global trade. Dock labor could be casual, insecure, and punishing. Workers unloaded sacks, barrels, crates, timber, coal, meat, and countless other cargoes by hand. Many had to gather at dock gates, hoping to be chosen for a day's work, a system that created anxiety and dependence. The labor demanded strength, speed, endurance, and local knowledge. It also produced solidarity. Dock strikes and union campaigns became important in the wider history of working-class organization. These workers handled the goods that filled shops, factories, warehouses, and homes across Britain. Yet their own lives were often precarious. The empire's material abundance passed through their hands, but not always into them. London's prosperity was lifted, dragged, stacked, and carried by people whose effort was often overlooked. The Port of London was once the world's busiest port. At its height, the port was a vast working system spread along miles of riverfront, docks, basins, warehouses, cranes, customs offices, rail links, and crowded approaches. Ships arrived from every direction, carrying goods that fed homes, factories, shops, and imperial trade. Tea, wool, sugar, meat, timber, spices, metals, fruit, and machinery all passed through London's hands. The scale was astonishing, but the port was never only about cargo. It was about information, credit, labor, weather, empire, and timing. A delay could affect markets. A strike could shake supply chains. A storm could alter fortunes. The river made London a city with a world-sized appetite. For a time, no port on earth handled more movement. Its power lay in constant arrival, as if the planet itself were being unloaded along the Thames. Canary Wharf rose from the decline of the old docks. When container shipping transformed global trade, London's historic docks could no longer compete with deeper, more modern ports. Work vanished. Warehouses emptied. Communities built around dock labor faced uncertainty and loss. Then the Isle of Docks became the site of one of London's most dramatic reinventions. Towers rose where cargo once moved. Finance replaced freight. The skyline changed with startling speed, turning former industrial land into a district of banks, offices, glass, steel, and global capital. This transformation was impressive, but it was not simple. It brought new wealth and new tensions, opportunity and displacement, sleek buildings and memories of vanished work. Canary Wharf is fascinating because it shows London's ability to remake itself while carrying ghosts of what came before. Beneath the polished surfaces lies the story of docks, labor, decline, ambition, and reinvention. Buckingham Palace became the monarch's main London home under Victoria. Before Queen Victoria, the building had already been altered from a grand house into a palace, but her reign gave it a new central role. When she moved there in 1837, it became the main London residence of the sovereign. This mattered because monarchy depends on visibility as well as inheritance. The palace became a setting for ceremonies, audiences, balconies, processions, and public expectation. Over time, it gathered the rituals people now associate with royal London, from guards at the gates to crowds assembling outside during moments of celebration or crisis. Yet it was also a working household filled with staff, offices, routines, and private life behind the famous facade. Buckingham Palace became powerful not because it was ancient, but because it turned monarchy into a daily presence at the heart of the modern capital. Trafalgar Square commemorates naval victory and public gathering. The square takes its name from the Battle of Trafalgar, where Britain defeated the fleets of France and Spain in 1805. Its central monument honors Admiral Nelson, but the space has never belonged only to military memory. It became one of London's great public stages. Demonstrations, vigils, celebrations, festivals, New Year gatherings, and national moments have all filled it with crowds. Its position helps explain its power. It sits near government, theatres, galleries, churches, and major streets. People pass through it, but they also gather there to be seen and heard. Trafalgar Square shows how monuments can acquire lives beyond their original purpose. What began as a place of commemoration became a civic arena where Londoners and visitors turn history into presence through assembly, protest, music, silence, and celebration. Nelson's column watches over protests, celebrations, pigeons, and crowds. The statue high above the square honors a naval commander, but its meaning has changed through the life beneath it. Nelson stands far out of reach, while London continues at ground level. Political marches pause there. Football victories spill into the space. Tourists look upward. Artists perform. Pigeons once gathered in such numbers that they became part of the square's identity before feeding them was discouraged. Around the column, bronze lions rest like guardians, turning the monument into something both imperial and familiar. This mix is very London. A symbol of war becomes a meeting point. A formal memorial becomes background to ordinary photographs. A column built for national pride ends up witnessing the full theatre of public life. Its fascination comes from the contrast between stillness above and constant motion below. Big Ben is the bell, not the tower. Many people use the name for the whole clock tower, but strictly speaking, it refers to the great bell inside. The tower itself was long known as the Clock Tower, then renamed the Elizabeth Tower in honour of Queen Elizabeth II. The bell's deep note became one of London's most recognisable sounds, broadcast across Britain and associated with time, news, ceremony and endurance. The clock mechanism is a masterpiece of Victorian engineering, designed for accuracy on a monumental scale. Its faces look out over Westminster, while the bell sounds from within the structure like a voice of the capital. The correction may seem small, but it opens a richer story. London's landmarks are often known through nicknames, habits, and affection. Big Ben is not just a bell. It is a sound people mistake for a building because it feels larger than itself. The Palace of Westminster was rebuilt after a devastating fire. In 1834, flames consumed much of the old parliamentary complex. The disaster cleared away a tangled group of historic buildings, leaving a national question in its ashes. What should the home of Parliament look like? The answer became one of the most famous Gothic revival buildings in the world. Charles Barry designed the new palace, with Augustus Pugin shaping much of its extraordinary decorative detail. The result was not merely an office for politics. It was architecture as identity, wrapping modern parliamentary government in medieval visual language. Towers, chambers, corridors, carvings, and riverfront facades created a building that seemed ancient and new at once. The fire destroyed a political home, but it also gave Britain the chance to stage its constitution in stone. The rebuilt palace made government visible as drama, ceremony, and national myth. Suffragettes used London as a stage for political courage. The campaign for women's voting rights needed attention, and London offered the most powerful audience in the country. Suffragettes marched through major streets, held meetings, interrupted politicians, chained themselves to railings, broke windows, endured arrests, and faced imprisonment. Their actions were controversial, but they forced the issue into public view. The capital mattered because it contained parliament, newspapers, courts, police headquarters, and symbolic buildings. A protest in London could become national news. These women understood that politics was not only made through speeches inside chambers. It could also be made through bodies in public space, through risk, disruption, and persistence. Their courage was not abstract. It was physical, strategic, and costly. London became the arena where exclusion was challenged face to face, and where the demand for citizenship refused to remain polite or invisible. The cenotaph became Britain's central monument to wartime remembrance. Originally designed as a temporary structure after the First World War, the cenotaph moved the public so deeply that it was rebuilt in permanent stone. Its power lies in restraint. It has no triumphant figure, no crowded battle scene, and no individual soldier. The empty tomb represents those buried elsewhere, especially the dead who never returned home. Standing in Whitehall, close to the machinery of government, it turns a busy street into a place of national pause. Each year, remembrance ceremonies gather there with silence, wreaths, uniforms, veterans, families, and public grief. The monument's simplicity allows millions of private losses to meet in one shared form. It is not loud, yet it carries immense emotional weight. In the heart of London, it asks the living to stop, remember, and acknowledge the cost of war. Churchill directed Britain's war effort from underground rooms in Whitehall. Beneath government buildings, a protected complex of rooms became one of the nerve centres of the Second World War. The cabinet war rooms allowed ministers, military leaders, clerks, typists, map officers, and communication staff to work during air raids. Inside, decisions were made under pressure while bombs threatened the city above. Maps tracked convoys, fronts, and dangers across the world. Telephones connected leaders. Bedrooms and offices compressed national leadership into a subterranean maze. Churchill's presence gave the rooms a particular drama, but the place depended on many people whose work rarely became famous. The setting is gripping because it reverses the usual image of power. Britain's wartime government did not operate only from grand chambers and public speeches. It also functioned below street level, in cramped rooms where exhaustion, secrecy, fear, and determination shaped history. St. Paul's, surviving the Blitz, became a powerful national image. During the bombing of London, photographers captured the cathedral rising through smoke and destruction. The image mattered because St. Paul's already symbolized recovery after an earlier catastrophe. Seeing its dome still standing during another trial gave people a visual language for endurance. Firefighters worked desperately to protect it, and volunteers watched for incendiary bombs that could ignite the roof. The building was damaged, but it survived. That survival became more than an architectural fact. It became a story people could hold on to during nights of fear and loss. Londoners saw streets ruined, homes broken, and familiar places vanish. The dome offered continuity when so much else seemed unstable. Its meaning did not erase suffering, but it helped frame resistance. St. Paul's stood as a reminder that the city had risen before and might rise again. London children were evacuated to escape bombing during the Second World War. When war threatened the capital, enormous numbers of children were sent away from London to towns, villages, and countryside areas considered safer. Many carried gas masks, labels, small bags, and bewilderment. For some, evacuation brought kindness, open fields, better food, and new experiences. For others, it meant homesickness, fear, separation from siblings, or difficult treatment by strangers. Parents faced heartbreaking choices. Keeping children close felt natural, but sending them away could save their lives. The evacuation changed how young Londoners understood family, class, countryside, and danger. It also changed the places that received them. Accents, habits, poverty, and urban childhood entered rural homes and schools. This story is powerful because war appears through the eyes of children. The battlefield was not only overseas or in the sky. It entered suitcases, railway platforms, bedrooms, and goodbyes. The Festival of Britain offered London hope after wartime austerity. In 1951, Britain was still living with rationing, bomb sites, shortages, and exhaustion. The Festival of Britain tried to offer something different. On the South Bank, modern architecture, design, science, art, industry, and entertainment were arranged as a vision of renewal. Visitors encountered bright structures, exhibitions, public spaces, and a sense that the future might be lighter than the recent past. The festival did not solve hardship, but it mattered emotionally. It gave Londoners a place to imagine reconstruction as more than repair. It suggested that modern design could serve ordinary life and that national confidence could be rebuilt through creativity. The South Bank itself was changed by the event, gaining a cultural identity that continued long after the festival closed. Out of rubble and restraint came a brief, vivid promise of possibility. Smog once killed thousands and changed Britain's clean air laws. London had long been famous for fog, but industrial smoke and domestic coal fires turned some fogs deadly. In December 1952, a severe smog settled over the city and trapped polluted air near the ground. Visibility collapsed. Buses stopped. People struggled to breathe. Hospitals filled with patients suffering respiratory distress. Thousands died in the days and weeks that followed. The disaster shocked the country because it revealed that familiar pollution was not merely unpleasant. It could be lethal on a massive scale. Public pressure and scientific evidence helped lead to cleaner air legislation, including restrictions on smoke-producing fuels in urban areas. The episode transformed the meaning of London fog forever. What had once seemed atmospheric, even romantic in literature, was exposed as a public health emergency. The air itself became a matter of law, planning, and survival. The swinging 60s made London a global capital of youth culture. In the 1960s, London seemed to many observers like the center of a new cultural energy. Music, fashion, photography, design, clubs, magazines, and film fed one another at remarkable speed. Young people were not merely copying older styles. They were shaping taste, language, and attitude. Bands from Britain became global sensations, while London boutiques and designers helped create looks that traveled far beyond the city. Social change, post-war affluence, television, and a growing youth market all played their part. The city became associated with color, experimentation, confidence, and rebellion against older restraint. Of course, not everyone lived inside that glamorous image. Still, the idea of swinging London had real power. It turned the capital into a symbol of youth itself, a place where modernity seemed to dance through streets, studios, shops, and songs. Carnaby Street became a symbol of fashion, music, and rebellion. This narrow Soho street became internationally famous because it captured the visual excitement of the 1960s. Boutiques sold bold clothes that rejected the sober formality of earlier generations. Bright colors, sharp cuts, patterned fabrics, and playful designs turned shopping into self-expression. Musicians, models, photographers, designers, and teenagers all helped create its reputation. Carnaby Street was not important because it was large. It mattered because it became concentrated. A short walk could feel like entering a new attitude toward youth, gender, class, and style. The street's fame spread through magazines and television, making it a shorthand for London's cultural confidence. It shows how history can gather in surprisingly small places. A few shop fronts, a crowd, a camera, and a hunger for change were enough to make one street feel like the center of the future. The British Museum began with one physician's extraordinary collection. Sir Hans Sloane gathered an enormous collection during his lifetime, including books, manuscripts, plants, coins, antiquities, shells, specimens, and objects from around the world. After his death, the nation acquired his collection, and it became the foundation of the British Museum in the 18th century. The museum opened with an Enlightenment ambition to organize and study human knowledge. Its origins are fascinating, but also complicated. Some objects came through networks tied to empire, colonialism, slavery, and unequal power. The museum became a place of learning and wonder, but also a place where questions of ownership and return still matter. From one person's collecting habit grew an institution that shaped how London displayed the world to itself. It is a reminder that museums are never neutral storehouses. They are built from curiosity, power, scholarship, desire, and history. The Rosetta Stone made London central to decoding ancient Egypt. This dark slab became one of the most famous objects in the British Museum because it carried the same decree in 3 scripts. Greek could still be read, while Egyptian hieroglyphs had long resisted understanding. By comparing the texts, scholars gained the key that helped unlock ancient Egyptian writing. Jean-François Champollion made the decisive breakthrough, but the stone's presence in London turned the museum into a magnet for fascination with Egypt. Visitors could stand before an object that changed humanity's access to a vanished civilization. Suddenly, temples, tombs, statues, and papyri could speak with far greater clarity. The stone is also part of a contested imperial history, since it came into British hands after conflict with France in Egypt. Its story joined scholarship, conquest, language, and display. In London, a fragment of stone became a doorway into thousands of years. Crossrail revealed thousands of artifacts beneath London's modern streets. The construction of the Elizabeth Line was not only an engineering project, it became one of the largest archaeological investigations the city had ever seen. As tunnels, stations, and shafts were dug, archaeologists examined layers that had been sealed beneath roads and buildings. They found Roman objects, medieval remains, industrial traces, burial grounds, tools, pottery, shoes, animal bones, and evidence of long-forgotten landscapes. The project showed that modern infrastructure can open windows into deep time. Commuters now travel through a railway built partly through the careful study of what came before. This is one of London's great paradoxes. The faster the city tries to move into the future, the more it sometimes uncovers its past. Crossrail did not simply connect east and west. It cut through centuries, revealing how many Londons lie under every journey. Modern London keeps growing over layers of buried memory. The city is never finished. New towers rise beside ancient churches. Rail lines pass near plague burials. Offices stand above Roman remains. Markets change their languages. Warehouses become flats. Power moves, but it rarely erases everything before it. London's history survives in street names, foundations, ceremonies, fragments of wall, museum cases, parish boundaries, old routes, and stories repeated without people always knowing their origins. This layering is what gives the city its strange depth. It is not a clean replacement of past by present. It is accumulation. Every generation builds its own London on top of older ones, while inheriting shapes it did not choose. To walk through the city is to cross time without leaving the pavement. Modern London grows because it changes, but it remains fascinating because so much of what came before is still quietly underneath. As our journey through London begins to settle, the city itself seems to soften in the mind. The noise of markets fades into the distance. The echo of footsteps along ancient streets grows quieter, and the long river, which has carried so much of this story, flows on at its own steady pace. We have wandered from Roman foundations to rising glass towers, from firelit nights to quiet underground shelters, from crowded docks to royal halls, from whispered rebellions to grand public squares. Layer upon layer, century upon century, the city has gathered its stories, holding them gently beneath the rhythm of modern life. Perhaps now you can picture it differently, not just as a place on a map, but as something deeper, a living memory. A city built not once, but again and again, shaped by countless lives, each leaving something behind. And as those images drift through your thoughts, there is nothing more you need to do. Let them pass slowly, like the Thames at night. Let your breathing find its own calm rhythm. Let the weight of the day begin to lift as the city fades into stillness. If you're still awake, there will be another journey waiting for you on the screen. And if you've enjoyed this one, you might consider liking, subscribing, or sharing your thoughts so others can find their way here too. But for now, Simply rest. Let the world grow quiet. Let your mind settle into ease. Sleep well, and good night.